194. That was downright satisfying. That's a fight ender kind of a hit. Huh, left eye. Left ear. That was not good. That is not a... I mean, that would graze. That would absolutely stumble the guy, but that would not end that fight in a permanent manner. $199. All right, come here. Okay, this is a drill that I came up with a couple years ago. This is a 100-pound draw magnet. I should probably show you that first. From Harbor Freight or Northern Tool or whatever. And it comes standard with one hole, and I drilled an extra hole. I'm trying not to get my watch near it because it's bad to have an Apple Watch near a magnet. It's got a hole in the middle, and I drilled an extra hole to keep the magnet from twisting. And because it's a 100-pound draw, this 9-pound target or whatever it is, it's not very difficult to get it to stick. And you could actually orient this around a corner if you wanted to. And I'm going to have some plates made up that are about this size minus the hole, so they're going to be dedicated for being on a magnet. But with the face stencil, it transforms how you look at this target. And the idea of the target, this is 7 yards, so this is the 2 seconds from holster, one shot, which I'm making those times with the exception of one of them. But what it is it gives you a sense of urgency because you know you're only going to have one hit. But this is also a trainer to get people to understand when you're delivering headshots, this is worst case scenario. Not because of an ethical issue, but because of a tactical issue. I don't want to shoot at heads if I can avoid it. Why? Because heads move, heads are armor plated. The frontal is the thickest bone in the body. Well, let me rephrase that. The frontal is the toughest bone in the body by tonnage. The femur is technically the thickest bone in the body, but the frontal is the toughest bone in the body. Almost like God knew that toddlers would be face planting, because he's God, he did. So this is the toughest bone in the body. But the beauty of this is, if you give somebody a high velocity round, anywhere from here up, from this area up, it severely alters the fight. The reason for that is we tend to bleed copiously from this portion of the anatomy. That's number one. Number two, the pain value that exists in this environment of the body, of the anatomy, is so great that it tends to alter one's, even if you're dealing with a really well-trained person, the pain value of a hit here is so great that it alters one's desire to fight. Watch MMA, watch some of the security footage, watch body cam footage, and you're going to see people when they take high thoracic, high cardiovascular system hits, it tends to stop that fight. Whether it's a decerebrate or decorticate injury, it tends to just kind of clamp people up and it takes them out of the fight. And it gives you the ability to transition to your shoes and go. And so I like this, but the other thing you notice, every time that I would shoot, what would it automatically allow me to do? Transfer to the ground to see what the effect was of my shot. Because this target disappears. You hit this target, and I actually have it mounted in such a manner that it's right there, on the edge of the magnet's ability to grab that target. And so what ends up happening is the target just disappears. You hit it, and the target is just gone from your sight. And what ends up happening with that effect is you learn very quickly that headshots are one-shot fight stoppers. I wish mounting hardware on targets came here instead of here, because then it would allow me to work not only head, but also jugular, carotid, left and right ventricles, descending aorta. I would be able to imagine my landmarks, but I'm constantly having to avoid the bolts that are right here on these targets, because you hit the bolts, they get destroyed, and then the value of the target starts going in the garbage can. But even from 7 yards, my accuracy is good enough now that I can keep all my shots on the head, and I don't have to worry about these bolts. But this target is such a great training tool, because it teaches you, when you're talking about a headshot, it is a one-shot stop. So it isn't double tap. It's pop and assess, as opposed to pop and then having to imagine assessing. It's pop and assess, because that target disappeared. And anyone who has, let me do this delicately. When I was in hostage negotiator school many years ago, the teacher that was teaching the block of instruction where you're dealing in a face-to-face, which is the funny thing is they tell you never negotiate face-to-face, and then when you get into hostile negotiations, they tell you never say never. And you have to watch a lot of footage of people popping themselves up before they pop themselves. And it's important that you learn to identify what that is. And you unfortunately see a lot of real-world, unedited, unfuzzed video of people just opening themselves up with a handgun or worse. And the one thing that I always marveled at was when they took a really bad hit here, they literally disappeared. And when, over the years I've trained with Special Forces operators, and they will tell you, when you pop somebody in the recoil, they disappear. And it's as if the earth has just opened up and swallowed them. It isn't like in the movies, right? Where they kind of do that stiff board thing. In most cases, when a person takes a true nerve stopping, true nerve conductivity disrupting hit in this inverted triangle, that person switches off, and it's as if the earth opened up and swallowed them. That's what this target simulates. In my recoil, when I shoot it and hit it, I see the flash of my optic, and next thing I see is the trees, and this dude is gone. If I'm really close, if I'm here between my hands and the handgun, all my cues are gone. I mean, this guy is absolutely going to disappear from in front of me if I were to pop him this close. That's why I like targets like this. And guys, you can do this. This is not that expensive. This is a 2x4, they're kind of expensive. And this is cheap little magnet behind it, and then whatever target stand, these are just target stands that I made myself, but this is not hard to do. Now understand, this is frustrating, because every time you got to go from 7 yards to over here, pick up the target and reset it. But this is not a target for long practice. This is a target for very targeted practice, to learn how to do a certain technique, to understand it is one shot, stop. That's it. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. I'll do my best to answer them. Or you can email me at tier1citizen@gmail.com. As always, God bless you all. Get those guns out in practice. Have a good one.